Hey, it's Adam. So we're here today to discuss intergenerational conflicts. I wanted to do this in person with my dad, give you a little side of our story, but fortunately I couldn't make it. So I'll talk to you about one specific challenge that my family faced with me, and that was the curfew issue. Growing up, a lot of my friends, they were coming home like 8, 7 o'clock after school on the weekdays. And this was during the grades of 8, 9, 10, around those grade levels. And I wasn't able to do that. My parents wanted me to come home after school. If I wasn't going to play any sports or be involved in any academic program or get a job, I would have to come home after school. Come home 3:30, 4 o'clock at the latest. Now, this created a lot of problems for me, a lot of problems for the family, because it would lead to a lot of fights. You see, around that time, a lot of my friends were hanging out in each other's houses. That's where all the fun happened. They're playing video games. They're playing basketball. They're doing all these fun things, and I couldn't be a part of it. So, what ends up happening is I begin to rebel. If I'm not allowed to do it, if they're not going to budge on this issue, then I'm going to have to take actions in my own hands. So what I start doing is I start staying out later than I'm allowed to. So I get phone calls, constant phone calls. Where are you? Why aren't you home? You better come home. Come home now. Sometimes I lie and say where I am. Sometimes I lie and say I'm at the library, or lie and create up a story, which creates more problems. Eventually, my parents, they were fed up. They were fed up over this issue. So they decided to create a negotiation for me. And then the way this negotiation worked was that I can stay out till 6 o'clock on a weekday as long as I was able to maintain my grades, keep them the same or higher than they were prior to this agreement, and that I didn't get into any trouble in school. If all these things were met, then I could hang out with my friends up to 6 o'clock on the weekdays. So this negotiation, it worked like magic. What ends up happening is, or what ended up happening was, there was no more fights in the house over this. The house was quiet. My grades were good. In fact, my grades were getting better. And the reason being was I wanted so much to have this time with my friends that I worked that much harder to ensure that I could have this time. So my grades wouldn't slip, so that they would be higher than they were before. So it was a successful thing. Back then, before the negotiation, I just felt as a kid, I felt like my parents were just totally unreasonable people. They had no good reason why they would allow me to do this. And I was like, you know what, these people, they just don't want to have fun. They don't want me to have fun. That's why they didn't want to let me stay out, because they're so against fun. And that's really the kid's way of thinking it. When I look back on this issue as an adult, I realized that the reason why my parents didn't want me to stay out late is because they didn't trust us as kids being in an unsupervised environment. They don't know these kids. They don't know where we are. Anything could happen. This is a time where kids are exposed to many different things. This is a time when kids are susceptible to peer pressure. And also, being a black kid in America, being a black boy in America, anything can happen, So, my parents were out of fear, out of concern of that, that's why they wanted me home, that an environment which they can control. But, the negotiations really worked out, and it really helped me, to keep things in check. Even when I was hanging out, I made a conscious effort to not do certain things that were negative that my friends were doing. Because I know that doing those things could end up resulting in the loss of this free time with them. So yeah, the negotiations was a success for me and my family.